interwebs. I'm probably about to cough any second. This is F3G2, and I am SEB. And behind the camera is Big SEXYDAVE. And we are going to review some comical books. Not too many. Hey, I got a life. I got things to do. You're not even watching. Don't judge me, internet. Oh, the internet judges. That's what it does. Never mind. Judge me, internet. But you're probably right.
And of its existence.
Now, let's start with Justice League number 34. All right. This is the new status quo. Henceforth,
Falling.
comical books fell. I never remember anyone's first thought. Why DC do you not believe in fucking title pages?
Neither of them do.
All right, Priest just goes by completely Priest. That's why I couldn't think of a first name. And Pete Woods on art, which is also important. Now they're not in the order I read them. That bothers me. Anyway, get back up there, you stupid old book. Justice League 34, we get the new status quo, and suddenly, just like that, wham, bam, thank you, Priest. Justice League is suddenly a book worth reading again. Because I was literally just about to drop it. And apparently I was not alone, because that's when the same time I was writing drop in my previews, they announced, oh, Priest is going to write, and Pete Woods. I'm like, Pete Woods alone had me. I'm like, Priest sounds interesting. Let's wait for this. And it's good. This is the first part of the People versus the Justice League.
Legal troubles.
Batman fucks up. And it's a very, humanizing way of fucking up. It's a very Batman way. Between his control freakness of, well, I have to be in charge of everything, and his dedication to his mission. It doesn't matter that I haven't slept in forever, Alfred. I have to go. They need me. Blah blah blah. And
Big elephant.
And his just I know best because I'm Batman. He starts making decisions without hearing full, and he's like, oh, he ends up sending. Oh, I should have sent Aquaman there, and Cyborg's like, it's Cyborg who points it out, which will clearly lead to Cyborg ends up leader of the Justice League within this story arc. So. Not yet, but it's in the solicit. So Cyborg's like, hey, Bats, I'm stealing Aquaman back. I'm gonna put him where he should be. My students were exhausting today. You can judge me, internet. I don't care. And as a result, there are deaths, not just deaths. Like a nun dies. And the perceived big threat. This alien invasion turns out to not be an alien invasion. It's alien tourists. It's like a tour bus that gets full of aliens that, this giant ship is just like a tour. And they're visiting our neck of the, because we're like the backwater. This is like, oh, come on out to the backwater towns and see, look how these people live. And, they kind of got lost. They didn't even mean to go near Earth. And, it's Simon Boz that figures that out. Plus, it'll make more sense to have Cyborg as leader since Cyborg, at this point, the Justice League headquarters is an extension of Cyborg. Mm-hmm. Cyborg needs less sleep because he's a machine. He can, if my cell phone, if I can play stupid apps while talking on a phone, having a conversation and receiving text, all with my phone still charging at a souped up speed, then certainly Cyborg can do the same thing. Booyah, 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 booyah. And
the night begins to shine.
He's the ultimate of, he can be monitor duty when he's on a mission, when he's at the base, when he's sleeping. He can be on monitor duty. He is the internet. So really, really good already. Jump back into that. Let's see. Excuse me while I shuffle my books, then I dropped on the floor. Okay, the second book that I read was the Batman White Knigget, in which Batman continues to be more and more douchebaggery. Alfred does what Alfred does best, even at high, extreme high, ultimate costs to Alfred. Batman continues down his path to ultimate douchebag. Joker continues to play the part of the nice guy, but then why is he manipulating bad guys? The other Harley is out for revenge, and it continues to be really, really good. I'm not always a fan of Elseworlds lately, since the DC Universe, to me, at this point, still sort of is an Elseworld. It's an Elseworld that does a better job of resembling the DCU I knew and loved, but it's, still sort of Elseworldly. So getting alternate versions of these characters, it's just weird. But this happens to work really, really, really well. Star Wars, Darth Vader. And it's unofficial, Darth Vader, Star Wars and Star Wars Rebels kind of crossover. Vader and the Inquisitor from Rebels are shaking down the Justice League library. I mean, the Justice League. I'm still lost in the other one.
Wrong universe.
Huge crossover. No, they're shaking down the Jedi Academy library. And you spend all day in a room full of those teenage felons that are absolute shits this year and see if you can keep your mind straight on reviewing comic books you read the night before.
Less and less apologetic every year.
Librarian Jedis are still Jedi. That's important to know. Vader is still the coolest. Also, when robots within the Jedi Academy library scan you and let you walk in while you're there to destroy it because they go, oh, bio reads, welcome, Jedi Master Anakin Skywalker. And that just pisses you off even more because that name is dead. Savage Dragon continues to be softcore porn with some super heroics, and it's a weird combo right now. No, fuck softcore. It's hardcore porn. And thanks to, the rate that he kills characters and the fact that several of his main characters, like Dragon himself, can regenerate, it's hardcore snuff porn. Combined with slice of life everyday storytelling, and at the moment, a Canadian travel guide. And I know that sounds like that's a bad review, but it's fucking awesome. So to prevent more unbeatable children,
wonderful insanity.
Dragon's wife, has insisted that Malcolm Dragon has had a vasectomy. But he regenerates.
I was about to say, I don't think it would stick.
Just like when one of his ex-girlfriends tried to abort the pregnancy when she got pregnant from him, and the abortion healed, the baby just. No, he's like, no, fuck you. I'm going to be a baby. The vasectomy healed. She's pregnant again. Not thrilled with it until, as she's explaining it to him, and she kind of, climbs across the table to tell him, what's done is done. I can't get any more pregnant, so whoopee, it's time to paint the walls. Because this is the second issue in a row that features a sex scene in which his ejaculate shoots her across the room, whereupon she hits the wall and it all just rains down from...
Oh, God.
From her vaginal cavity into her open mouth to the tune of blub dub blubbity glub.
I'm thinking back to Scary Movie. Was it Scary Movie?
I don't know. I don't watch I don't watch any of those spoof movies because mostly they're lame. And trying to point out that the movies are lame, but that they're mocking, but they end up being even twice as lame. So, as I've discussed previously, Eric Larson has some issues.
Many, several hundred issues.
229 to be exact. But The man's got some issues that he's literally working through. Some of it's uncomfortable, like everything I just showed you. But I think one of the things that's important to know is 229 issues in. I don't know if I know how to stop. So
just ride the train wreck.
Captain America, home of the brave. Cap versus the New Swordsman. Cap's touring America. This is Mark Waid, not knowing it, but he's basically writing a letter to who's the guy that wrote like Straczynski. He's got initials and then Straczynski.
J. Michael Straczynski.
Yeah. Who did the Superman Grounded, where Superman went to walk across America and
Oh yeah.
But this is, and everybody was like, this is horrible. But this is it done really well. Yes, right wing and especially alt right comic book readers are pissed at it all over the internet. So good. That's what you get. But Cap goes to this small town where he's instantly recognized, so they won't let him clean dishes for food. He has to. The guy's like, "I'm just going to give you." The diner owner's like, "I'm just going to give you free food." Cap insists, "Can I, just at least let me wash some dishes?" No. Just a handful of dishes? No. One dish. The guy's like, "You can wash one dish, but I can take a picture of you doing it?" And he's like, "Sure." So there's going to be that. But the new swordsman is in this town, getting ready to take down the dam, and they're in Georgia. And for everyone who complains, "Oh, Cap," notice that Mark Waid didn't make all of the Georgians narrow-minded racist fucks. He made all of them nice, well-rounded people, with the exception of the swordsman, who calls himself the Swordsman in 2017. So clearly the guy's got some issues. So he's getting ready to take out the dam. And surprises Cap with a vibranium sword that just bounces Cap's shield away. He wasn't ready for that. Have I mentioned lately what you already know, which is Chris Samnee artwork is great. Mark Waid writing is great. Mark Waid writing with Chris Samnee artwork is just the American dream, literally, in this particular case.
About the second. They did Daredevil together, right?
Barbarella #1 from Dynamite was really, really good. I ordered it because Barbarella. And it's very, very European, very heavy metal. She's taken in and arrested by a weird group of space-traveling religious zealots who have reached enlightenment by removing all sexual desire. They now have babies through science, not sex. And to prevent people from backsliding, they have a machine that rewrites your code and gets rid of your erogenous zones. So she's arrested for smuggling contraband into their neck of the woods. In other words, she's arrested for having a fully functioning vagina, which they removed for her, and then put her in a prison full of women who are now sexless, bunch of Barbies. It's Barbie-rella. And Barbara ends up sparking a not sexual revolution, because their actual organs are gone, but let's go with a sensual revolution, which is where we leave off with, will she or will she not get her vagina back? I don't know. These are questions I never thought I'd ask.
No. Even into the realm of comic books.
But
it's there.
Let's see. Mike Carey wrote it, and Keenan Yarar drew it. Mohan colored it, and Crank lettered it. Crank's lettering, those squared off boxes combined with Mohan's style of coloring really just make it that very heavy metal and European comic look. Like I'd have no problem if looking at this, if I didn't see Mike Carey's name, I'd be like, wow, what's this translated from? Oh, it wasn't? Craziness. Really, really good. Batman, Superman. Batman, just on Superman. Tom King blows it away this issue with my favorite Batman Superman team up story since the first issue of the first run of the Batman Superman comic. The one, I think, did Wade write that? I thought, and Ed McGinnis drew it, and that one was written. You had the same story, split down the middle with Superman's view and Batman's view. Rick has given me. I used to have a bunch of copies of that. Rick has given me a bunch of copies of the dollar reprint of that I use to this day in my classroom for teaching character development, characterization, and point of view, and compare and contrast. Because you have Batman viewing it from, in his dark Batman-y way, and Superman in his uplifting way. This is them. This Tom King actually surpassed that, because this is them not knowing they're agreeing with each other, saying the same exact thing while thinking that they both think the other one is so different. Lois is encouraging Clark to call Bruce about his engagement. And Bruce is like, yeah, but he got engaged. He's supposed to call us. If he hasn't notified me, I don't call him to say, hey, are you engaged? Congratulations. He should call me. And she's like, doesn't matter. He's your friend. And then it cuts to, Catwoman doing the same thing with Batman. And, the first time you see each of them, you got Superman. If he wants to, he'll call. And a couple pages later, you've got Batman. I don't see why I need to call him. Lois and Catwoman have the same argument. They end up working the same case with this Dr. X and Dr. Double X. And not Double X like from the whatever, but this guy who seems to split into whatever. Anyway, they're working the same case from different angles, don't realize they're working the same case. They come together, even the way they come together with this Batman, like, Superman's like, how come I didn't see you? Batman's like, I don't get seen. That's what I do. You took the elevator? And Superman's like, well, if I flew in, I would have had to break a window. And, and while they stare awkwardly at each other, Lois reaches across and goes, I'm Lois. You must be Catwoman. Which seems even funnier for the world's greatest reporter to be, there's this woman in a Catwoman suit. Also, you've got the angle of, Superman going, should we trust her? We can't just trust her. She's a thief. We can't just trust her with the identity of me and my family. And Lois is like, yeah, you got to figure she already knows, especially with the way you keep your secret. And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, oh, Clark. And she's like, she's a master thief. She finds clues and she does this. She's a detective in her own right. And meanwhile, it cuts to, then it cuts to Catwoman saying, what? The big reporter the big muscular reporter that's always writing about Superman and happens to look just like Superman. And no. She's like, and Batman's like, and she's like, remember, I figured out who you were. She's like, I can figure out the guy in the glasses and the comb over. And it was just great all around, just great characterization. Really, one of the best. Even they end up with when finally the two bad guys just show up, and they're just like, Superman looks at Batman and goes, "Vengeance is the night." Batman goes, "Up, up and away," and then they each punch their respective half of the evil duo, and then while they're both lying there on the ground, Superman looks at. Lois is standing next to Soups, who turns to Selina and Bruce and goes, so, you all want to get a bite to eat? And even the you all, which as a general rule makes me nuts when people say in real life, really cements that, Clark. Also, oh my God, I'm not gonna tell you everything, and I don't want to spoil the whole book, but their versions of each other's origins are heartbreaking on so many levels. Each one feels horrible for the other one while thinking that they didn't have it, but oh, it's great to see Superman looks at Bruce's origin and thinks, oh my God, this is the worst thing you could possibly imagine, because Soup's the loss of family is heartbreak. Whereas Bruce looking at Superman's origin and saying he doesn't see, Superman the way, Clark sees, his family, he's lost two sets of parents, but he has there so instilled in him that this makes him, the person that he is. Bruce just looks at him and goes, can you imagine how alone he must feel? Because to Bruce, the loss of two parents set Bruce over the
loss of the world.
This guy lost, 4 parents and a planet. Bruce can't even get his head around that, and it's heartbreakingly beautiful because they each have such a respect for, and they're each really this. Anytime you've ever wondered how can these two even be friends, this book shows so perfectly both how they could be friends while remaining so different, and both how each of them has no true understanding of how
the other works.
Well, no, they each think the other one is the greatest friend they'll ever have, and that they could never really, but they could never really tell them because they're so different, and it's just beautiful. It's just really, really well done. Superman 36 restores a status quo. By the end of this book, we can pretty much say it's safe to assume the next time we see Lex Luthor in a major role, he will be a bad guy again. You get Lois versus the female Furies. They never stood a chance. You almost get, those big dogs that the Soldiers of Apocalypse ride around on? Well, thanks to riding around on them for a while, Jonathan almost gets to bring one home, asking, telling Lois, don't you think Krypto needs a friend? And Lois is like, no, and the dog's just like, oh, and as they take off, which sort of breaks your heart, because Apocalypse is such a hellhole, even though they've led this revolution that, it's going to be short-lived, and eventually we're going to get Darkseid back. And there was this hellhound that could have been saved and been like Krypto's buddy, And if at this point Damian's running around with Ace, Titus, and Goliath, I think, that, he could have had Krypto and, Hellhound.
Start their own little creature collections.
Can I tell you how much I love Jesus Sayas art? It's a lot. And Mark Waid's story. I love when they put one of my favorite artists with one of my favorite. Look, we got the Sam Neill Mark Waid. Now we got the Sayas and Mark Waid. Yay! It's about fathers, children, and strained relationships. We get the High Evolutionary, who was not a full-on clone, but an evolutionized. There's the Higher Evolutionary, is his clone son, who, unlike the High Evolutionary, does not suffer from a lack of compassion and remorse. So he doesn't want to use the living creatures as test subjects, and therefore he and his dad have a huge misunderstanding. Whereas at the same time, we've got Vision has his daughter, who's currently been turned into a person by the High Evolutionary, and so Vision and Viv have their, Vision spoken to his older self. That's why he's been so weird about Viv. He knows that he's going to live for like aeons, but he knows Viv doesn't. He doesn't know when he loses her. It's this issue. Possibly. There's some question at the end, but this is, this is Vision again. He's tried to, he's deleted his emotions. He's trying to protect himself from this kind of thing, and he doesn't really know how to react to, his daughter, the idea of losing his daughter. And as a result, he's raised her right. She's a hero to the end. She is the one who climbs into the thing that there's no way you're going to be able to get back out of, but she's going to save lives and worlds. The Consultant, #1 from Action Lab, Danger Zone. A very thinly veiled Justice League analog. But in this world, they're a little closer to the superhero team from The Boys. They're all, debauchery and horrible. And they have a guy who works for them, whose job it is basically to
Their PR guy.
no, it's worse than that.
Ooh.
He's the guy who cleans up their messes, and by cleans up their messes, I mean when we first meet him, he's got this shape shifting Russell Small shapeshifter is sort of his muscle assistant who is not happy with the way that their world has gone because they're not anything remotely heroic. When we first open up, they're torturing a Black Merlin type guy. A Black Merlin meets a Deadshot guy called Deadeye, whose name is Eddie Merle, and he's like Deadeye. He's like a bow and arrow using, a wrist crossbow using Deadshot, and they're torturing him into confessing to a murder he didn't do because clearly the murderer was actually the hero called the Archer, who's like their Green Arrow, obviously, and it gets to the point where they're like, look, he's like, like we know where your ex-wife lives and your mother and your daughter, just like Deadshot does all the stuff to protect his child, and they're like, look, so you do this or we kill them, and he's like, my daughter will never talk to me again if I do this. He's like, and the guy's like, yeah, but she'll be alive if you do it. So so you get to realize what absolute scum they are. And then we find our in a dark take on everything I just showed you in Dragon, their Superman, Spartan, has had an incident happen. He's cheated on their Wonder Woman, Athena, with a hooker, but his depowering condoms tend to break, and yeah, he basically ejaculated right through the top of her head and killed her in a rather mess all over. So they're cleaning that up, but unfortunately he was drunk when he brought it in. So like, how many people saw it? He's like 20, 30 tops. So instead of just mind wiping a couple people, they elect to burn the entire place to the ground, killing all the witnesses, but letting him save one child at the end. So this way they'll still love him. But then things go wrong and he ends up arrested. But then it turns out there's a whole plan. There are certain people who want to stop the guy behind all of this, the guy doing all this cleanup stuff. And it's very, should be an interesting, it's taking, some new spins on some old tropes and even on some new spins on some old tropes that are of satirizing and picking apart old tropes. So it's a lot of very familiar ground, but there are some new landmarks added in along the way. And the final book I read was Sleepless, #1, which was really good and just beautifully done. Sarah Vaughan, Layla Del Duca, probably, yeah. Sarah Vaughan, Layla Del Duca, Alyssa Sala, and Darren Bennett. Sleepless are a type of, they're the people who don't sleep. They didn't get fully into it, but they're right now, the Sleepless are like the guards for royalty. We've got the illegitimate daughter of a king who's died, and her uncle is now on the throne. Her mother is abroad. The king's actual wife is getting ready to leave, and is like, hey, you can come with us. And she's like, no, I got to stay. And she's got this guard on the Sleepless, and she's got this little big-eared fox thing. The artwork is beautiful. I can't express to you enough how much everybody's eyes and mouths make me very happy. It sounds odd, but
yeah,
but art-wise, eyes and mouths are one of the things I look. It's one of the things I like about Jesus Sayas. It's one of the things I like about Kevin McGuire, Chris Sprouse, and this. It's got. I don't even have anyone to compare it to, but it's beautiful. The colors, the line work, it really is gorgeous. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. And of course, we end with an assassin attempt on our heroine, who, interestingly enough, is the shortened version of her name is Poppy. and as in poppies will make you sleep. Which I there's no part of me that believes was done on accident. And basically, this is a great setup. It doesn't give away too much. I'm still not 100% certain what the sleepless mean. There's a special vault for the sleepless in the down in the catacombs. Here the sleepless lie, never to wake again. And they're all lying there with just cloth over their face. For all I know, they're just sleeping. They're not even dead sleepless. Not sure what sleepless means. They haven't fully revealed it, as I said. But this first issue was great. Can't wait to see where the rest of this goes. So beautiful to look at. So beautiful. Like me? No. I'm really more dreamy with a bit of suave. You may go on now.